It's a quiet ride up to the 7th floor, where the BRC Luxburn main office is. Seb has been kind enough to switch the guest elevator's power on, just as I'm about to head for the fire exit stairs. Which is a welcome relief. I'm an active guy, but stairs? I don't want to tire out too quickly in case things get ugly. There probably won't be any trouble with the building this quiet, but you never know. I swear, the whole place definitely feels eerie at this time of night. But until I've confirmed anything, those are just stories. Worse things can happen. No need to scare myself. Staying calm means fewer mistakes.
I sure am fucking gutsy, especially with what I'm doing.
I'm breaking a lot of laws here. I'm also putting Isabella in a lot of risks. Best thing that can come out of this is that Isabella's right all along. Worst case scenario? 1. Someone finds out Isabella's involvement in this, and her boss fires her. 2. I find evidence that would implicate BRC or Luke Wright in a crime, and my meddling, if I'm not careful enough, makes it inadmissible in court. Though, I'll be honest, I strongly prefer losing my job or facing Wright over some spirit or ghost or whatever it is. I could always work around the problems with the former. Isabella could also find a better job. BRC never did pay her properly, despite her efforts. But fighting off a phantom? How does one even do that? Do guns even work with them?
Yeah, not going to happen.
But tonight, I'm here to fix things. If I do it without leaving a trail, all the better. Good thing that's what I'm good at. Easy way in. What I'll probably never be good at is finding the proper words when a sitch calls for it. But seeing Isabella's small form beyond those doors, how she pushes through despite carrying an entirely different burden this time, how she's pretending as if everything's normal, it's difficult not to try. People who have never looked beyond her smiles will never know, will never understand. Heck, even Rebecca's probably not aware of this. I get it. We have other problems at hand. I've done the same thing plenty of times to protect myself, after all. But it's all in her eyes when she glances up at the few light raps I give the door. She wastes no time in leaving the mess of papers on the table and opening it for me. Blah. Though even her confusion as she takes in my presence barely hides it.
Seb, let you in?
The rough edge in her voice rings a whole different tune now that I'm aware why. But knowing is different from hearing it straight from her. I can't simply bring this up, can I? It's not a topic suited for casual conversation, and I doubt she wants to talk to me about it. As much as I want to help, there's a distance between us I'll never be able to cross. One that wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for me. Perhaps if I had been more honest years ago and less of a coward, I might have been able to. Figures I couldn't even do that for the one person I keep telling myself that I care deeply about.
What can I say? I'm a very charming person.
To a rock, maybe.
This is the closest we can get to it, I suppose. The light banter, the fleeting glances, or sometimes the long bouts of silence. And it's enough. For me it is. Because even without words, there's comfort. With her, it's easy.
Must be a pretty cool rock then.
Ugh, get over yourself.
Hey now, I deserve some slack here. Today's supposed to be my day off, and yet here I am helping you out.
Helping? By standing at the door?
Well, you're not exactly letting me in.
Despite what she says, she moves to block me when I try to enter. She must have expected this, the second we walked up to the building's entrance and counted on the night shift guard to bar me from the place. It's reassuring to know she's somehow worried about me, although it's a bit misplaced at the moment. Besides, her concerns aside, I really can't let her get into the thick of things without me. Not with all of the problems on her plate right now.
Isabella!
Seriously, Ash, Seb might get in trouble for this. You might get in even bigger trouble with your boss.
And you're not?
Why did he yell at her?
I don't know.
What
That
the
was out
heck?
of nowhere. I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait, what? What? Wait, what? That just came out of nowhere. Isabella!
It sounds like the kind of shout where he's like trying to warn her of something.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
That is so misplaced. It feels so misplaced. What the heck?
Yeah. Okay, we come over to a little scene where there is a ghost behind her, and he casually just says, "Isabella."
There's a ghost behind you. Like, I thought maybe he saw something and he was warning her. But no.
We've already talked about this back at Zach's. It's out of the question.
At least do it for Seb, please. He's a really nice guy. But the way things are going here, he's...
wonder what freaking Sam thinks.
What?
I don't know what I would do if Seb heard that.
Oh, there's no way.
It's like, what are they screaming about? What the frick?
There's just no way. They're on the 7th floor. He does some crazy hearing. On that, I agree with her. Seb's not such a bad fellow. Might be a little careless with his job and talks too much, but he means well. I'd hate to see the guy leave here with a bad record, in case something goes wrong. However, the anxious looks she shoots back the table behind her bring an even bigger worry.
Did you find something? Aside from what you told me about yesterday?
Not yet. I'm not sure. I haven't started going through the files we have in the records room. Just the ones they handed to me in rows.
Let me see.
Wait, Ash!
Isabella, I already promised you that no one's going to get in trouble after we're done here. Even Seb. I'll make sure we leave the place clean.
Her hesitation's still there. A split second of indecision as she tries to form an argument. Eventually, when nothing comes to mind, she steps aside.
Okay, but we can't take the original files out of this office, clear? Not even a single sheet. We'll just have to make a copy.
Don't worry, that's the plan.
It appears to reassure her. A nod, then shortly she gestures for me to follow. Passing the sea of cubicles, I can't help but take in everything in their office. Force of habit, for the most part. As far as I know, BRC Luxburn used to own this whole building. Offices in several floors, once upon a time, when real estate is still a lucrative business for the company in this side of the country. Then competition showed up and suddenly everything's not so good anymore. It only got worse as the years went by, or so according to the rumors. Now the branch is just this floor, despite what the huge sign in the building's facade says. And frankly, it's not too hard to believe when one looks at the state of this room right now. A number of desks have been cleared out. Personal mementos are scarce as the employees have gone on an exodus. That'll be the downsizing, probably. Still worrisome, though. Of course, I shake away all of this when Isabella starts handing me the papers she's been looking through. Focus, Frey. There's no point in whining or dwelling any longer on it. That's why we're here in the first place. To find out what the real deal is the old-fashioned way. Isabella's presence is a whole other blessing, too. I couldn't imagine how long this would take if I pushed going in here alone.
Is this everything? Where are the documents you mentioned?
Still locked up in the records room. Do you need them now?
Bring them here. Everything that has to do with the mansion's sale. Even those who worked on it during the renovations. The cleanup, everything. Including your mandatory sign-in sheets.
It's an odd thing to bring up, but at least it elicits a laugh from her before she heads for the records room. She remembers. And no matter how weak the sound of it is from her usual ones, it's a welcome thing to hear. It reminds me that the Isabella I know is still in there. She returns minutes later with a thick stack of folders and binders. For the next half of the hour, we work in complete silence while we dig into everything compiled in the folders. Not an easy task considering how thick the whole thing is, but there's two of us. In fact, Isabella does most of the work, sorting the contracts, the employee list, and stuff we won't need into a neat pile. Just the files for the restoration alone makes up a stack of papers that's an inch thick. Third-party service providers hired by for the masonry, radiators, woodworking, plasterwork, slate roofing, and a whole bunch of other things are well documented. Heck, every single contractor who worked on the project were listed individually, even if they were just there to do the plumbing. It's a high-profile and high-cost estate, all right. But with that scope comes the loopholes. Means plenty of room to hide something in, if there's something fishy going on. All I have to do is find a pattern. And it doesn't take long. Upon closer glance, despite the original owners shouldering the renovation costs, it'll be surprising if they've managed to break even on the Irmingard mansion. What with the additional expenses for the open house, the commission for their agents, and other overhead fees. At one point, the negotiations to get it listed under BRC's name almost broke down, too. Some disagreement about a listing price. The owners wanted to be rid of it as quickly as possible, while keeping the worth at a profitable level. BRC was insisting on a higher amount, double what the appraiser suggested. This, plus the rumor that their branch is closing. BRC Luxburn really is in the red. And the sale of the mansion could have easily been a desperate move to keep the branch afloat.
No wonder the final sale happened as fast as it did. Did you know about this?
No, they took it off our hands after I submitted the final documents for the sale. I didn't even know until I read this. I'm not sure if Rose did. I've only been given the key to the records room after she... Anyway, my point is, they've kept all the files from me. Rose was the one who compiled everything from our side. And even then, she was probably not aware of this. There's only so much they let us know. After that, they just told us to wait for our commission, and that the legal team would handle the rest. The rumors are true. Huh.
Seems so.
Sheesh, this place is just unlucky. Going bankrupt while the rest of this crap is happening. But this isn't what we're looking for. What we need is the who. The people aside from Isabella and Cooper involved in this business with the mansion. And the how they are now. We can't do much with the outside contractors. They won't be on file. The employee list, on the other hand. Even
Can't
with the
forget about McCall.
Yeah, but she wasn't hired by BRC. She was hired by the rights. Even with two people working through the pile, the whole task still takes quite a while. It's a quarter of an hour later when we put down the papers with a sigh and move on to the clients upon Isabella's insistence. For that, the sign-in form from the open house comes in handy. Something that gives me a laugh when I spied the fake name I wrote on the sheets. Oh, which one? Oh, Ashley? Ashley. Get it?
Why'd I even pick this name? It sounds so lame.
What name?
Nothing important. Just focus on those papers you have. We need to finish this soon, before Seb suspects anything.
She snatches the paper away before the thought of hiding it occurs to me. Not that there's much secret in it. Isabella found me that afternoon anyway, but still.
Ashley?
I've been careless that day, tailing Luke Wright without confirming where they were headed off to. While the butler's terribly efficient in keeping the Wrights' engagements from the public eye, there are other ways if only I've given it the time of my day. In retrospect, I've been too eager, too impatient to find something that'll crack the case and be done with it. Maybe my failure goes as far back as the day of the open house, not during the party last night.
Yeah, well, I was pressed for time.
Seriously, Ashley? Were you even trying?
Oh, come on. You didn't even notice I was the one who wrote it down.
Of course I wouldn't. Only an idiot would use his real name.
It worked, though. Admit it. It's genius. Who would have thought, huh?
She responds with a roll of her eyes, then drops the matter entirely by shoving the paper back to my hands. We lapse back to our respective tasks afterwards, wordlessly skimming through everything. Read, set aside, get another one. Looking back at the sign-in sheet, I spot Luke Wright and Hannah Wright listed up top. Not that I don't know about them already, of course, but scanning through the list, a name immediately comes to my attention.
Madeline Williams.
Something wrong?
Huh? No, just that I remember this girl listed here.
Madeline. Was she that mean girl from the diary? I'm not too sure, but that might be it. She frowns, moves her seat closer, and takes careful read at the sheets. There's a long moment before she speaks up again, but from the way she tenses, she appears to be expecting the worst already.
What about her?
She was with me, in the group following Cooper, when we toured the upstairs part of the mansion, I mean. Rather loud one, especially when we took a peek into the attic. Kept talking about the ghost stories the whole tour.
Then, do you? Do you think she's...
She was reported missing 3 days after.
There was a ruckus at the precinct the day her family filed. Threats were naturally given at the lack of progress days later. Desperate ones. Her family's willing to shell out all the cash they have just to find her. To no avail, unfortunately. Officer Benjamin has been in a bad mood ever since he spoke with them. But what can he do?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, you apparently know the answer. What can he do?
Yeah.
He's tired. He's tied. We're all tied. There's only so much we're able to do, with everything that has been shoved into our hands already.
She still hasn't been found. It's already been a week.
It might just be someone unrelated person. I don't even remember what that mean girl's name was. I was just thinking. Isabella makes no further comment aside from a nod. Instead, she sits back on her chair with a distant look in her eyes, her hands balling to a fist as she struggles with her frustration? Maybe it's anger? But the moment doesn't last too long. Soon her grip loosens and she folds her hands back on her lap. Her expression, however, it's one I've seen too many times in a mirror. What does one say to a person burdened not by one loss, but many, who carries it in her shoulders like a badge of shame? I've yet to find the answer to that myself. Until then, the only way is forward. Press on to see where our attempts at fixing our mistakes might lead us. And despite my own doubts, a glimpse of that look on her face is enough reason for me. I can't just give up. There's too much at stake, too much to lose. With a renewed focus, I continue. On the third and last sheet, I spot another one. Beatrice Wilde, one I recall from the newspaper obituaries. Died of a heart attack. A letter of correspondence expressing condolences to her family confirms as much in her files. Passed away at aged 74 in her sleep.
She's at that age. It certainly could have been a natural death.
Right? I'd like to believe so. But 3 more letters turn up when I'm rummaging through the stack. and it leaves nothing more than foreboding feeling in me. They're all addressed to families of clients who have passed away in the past week. Regardless, these go into the pile of things worth looking into after our visit here, along with William's info sheet. There are just so many names, so many faces. Each one I've seen that day, and here I am wondering if they're all right. It isn't a selfless thought that brings the question to mind. Rather, it's the logic that if more of them are still alive, the more people I can choose to question. Nothing's concrete yet, of course. These are just speculations, but we're making progress. Once done with the sign-in sheets, I stash it along with the growing pile to my left, and pull out as many of the other documents Isabella has already prepared for me. We're working through the employee lists now, those who have been assigned to the mansion. Because if Isabella was to be believed, if what she's seen and what happened to Rose Cooper is because of that letter, I need to know everyone who has possibly read it, aside from the three of us, if they've been noticing strange things, too. For all I know, these may have just been a terrible coincidence. Although the thought of that starts to diminish as we begin to dig into BRC's company files. 15 minutes later, the stack close to my elbow has risen from 5 to 21 different dossiers. Client and employee documentation, people who have either visited the open house or worked on the property in some capacity since the letter's discovery. Turns out there were 2 more employees who handled the mansion directly, aside from Cooper and Isabella. Christian Sy, the realty specialist, and Mark Julius Jean-Marie, the estate appraiser.
This C guy, he was in custody just the other day.
Really? Sir John has been looking for him. He stopped reporting to work a few weeks ago. Are you sure it's the same person?
Yep, this is him. Folks at the precinct said they went to his house after a noise complaint. They found him just acting all crazy. Had to take him in when he started getting violent. He kept screaming about a woman.
Immediately she stiffens. I don't want to bring it up or imply a connection to Isabella's story, but that is exactly what happened.
It was driving the guards mad, but he didn't last too long in there. A few hours in, and he just started bashing his own head against the wall, and, well, it was messy, to say the least.
Oh, no. We had no idea. Is he okay? HR just marked him as AWOL because none of their calls would get through.
He's in the hospital right now. I heard they're putting him into a psychiatric ward as soon as he recovers. He's still a bit unstable.
Jean-Marie, on the other hand, his employee file notes his date of leaving and even when his final payment had been given. Along with it, there's a letter to his family about the appraiser being found dead in the office. Communication is hush-hush, and there's mention of compensation if they don't talk about it to the media. Inspector Abigail has often scolded me for not reading the reports on a regular basis, but I try to keep up to date as much as I can. When I do, I make sure I'm aware of the gist of what's going on in my city. This never reached the police's ears or the health and safety executive.
Do you know about this guy?
One glance at her says everything. They've hidden it from the media. They've kept it from the police. It's not surprising this will also be a secret from someone of Isabella's position in this company. Crap.
Rose was looking for him. Last week. We haven't heard anything from him either. Until now. They never mentioned this to us.
Business going under and someone dies while working here? Of course they'd want to keep that quiet. It's bad publicity. This whole thing is just getting freakier by the minute. Nevertheless, I hand the files for Isabella to make a copy of.
The pages with their names, addresses, and contact numbers will do. We'll start with the ones who live within the city.
Sometimes there are things you really can't just brush off as mere coincidence. In my line of work, Once a pattern pops up, it's only right to be suspicious. Especially the thing with C. It hits too close to the stuff my own friends have been telling me.
All of this?
It's considerably thinner than the one she brought in, yet somehow the way she hugs the folders close to herself makes it seem heavier. Like she's hanging on to it in the same manner one will latch on to a lifeline.
Only the noteworthy ones.
And those that might still be alive. Might. She doesn't need to know that.
We can't check the outside contractors, but the guys with the direct connection to BRC and the people who attended the open house should be enough. We don't have time to see how everyone's doing, especially if what you said is true.
For a second, she appears about to argue, then quickly decides against it and hides it away before anyone reads the question on her face. Then, in a too abrupt motion, she turns towards the copier and gets to work. Soon, only the machine's constant thrum fills the air around us, while I keep myself busy cleaning up the mess we've made. The lack of talk is awkward, to put it mildly, disturbing at the worst. I've gotten so used to letting her just babble away whenever it's just the two of us. I could tell, however, she wants to do more. She wants to fix this mess herself, and that desire makes her antsy. But at the same time, she's learning how not to be impulsive or stubborn, exactly as I've told her yesterday before agreeing to any of this. Or maybe these so-called changes have always been with her. Dire situations have always pushed people to change, after all. Although seeing this happen in front of me only makes it difficult to find the proper things to say. In an atmosphere this tense and charged, what is left for us to talk about? Certainly not the news. What's worse is when you only realize all of this in hindsight, right after you've already ran your mouth off.
You know, for a house your company seems to be in a hurry to sell, they still made quite a fortune out of it. Look at this. 1, 2, 3... 6. Are you sure they're planning to give your entire share for this? This isn't a small amount, especially given the usual cut. And their accounting department isn't in the greatest shape either.
Even if they don't, it's not like someone still needs it.
And there's the reason why people don't let me talk. Silence once again descends throughout the room, denser compared to the ones we've shared tonight. Behind me, I can still hear her movements, sharp and precise while she feeds the originals to the machine. Then, with one last click, all of it stops. Her feet shuffles lightly against the floor when she moves away. Something creaks softly, probably the table, as she settles her weight against its side. By this time, an apology is already at the tip of my tongue, but...
Belle,
Papa's gone, Ash.
Within those scant few seconds, everything between us shifts as the gravity of her words sinks. Right then and there... Yeah. Something harsh and immovable rises between us. Death is something I'm familiar with. Almost 10 years in the police force, and it's impossible not to be acquainted with it. But this is different from those dead bodies we examine in forensics. A far cry from the victims we found on a bad investigation. Those I could easily distance myself from. No emotional attachments. No need for pretenses. Yet somehow I still find myself grasping for things to tell her. Any words of comfort that'll dull the pain. Because even without looking at her, her grief feels palpable enough. Her pain. An immutable weight hanging over us. So gently I offer, just stay busy or tell me about him.
The second one.
Tell me about
when?
him.
Huh? When what?
When I...
Your dad. I mean, when did you find out?
She doesn't answer. Not immediately, anyway. For a long moment, the hush simply stretches out before us. Spanning across seconds, we let pass while we both simply stand there waiting. Eventually, she exhales, lightly muted, even enough that I might have missed it, had I not been paying attention to her every movement.
Yesterday, around 3 in the afternoon there, Mama called. She told me he passed away in his sleep, and I guess I can take comfort in that, huh? That Papa wasn't in any pain when...
She trails off, releases another ragged breath hidden under her chuckles. Each one's mirthless, heavy, with nothing but sorrow. Then she falters into silence, and for all my attempts at lightening her burden, I'm suddenly at a loss. Reassurance could only do so much, when her only reason for staying here has suddenly been taken from her. A hope yanked from under her feet right after it was generously given. And without that, without the one person who pushes her to endure all this crap we're going through, she's going through, means nothing but a struggle. What does one say to a person fraying at the edges, slowly wearing thin and breaking? Are words even enough? What right do I have anyway? I cannot give her anything apart from the lies that changed me as a person, and affection she may or may not even want for herself. Because no matter how easy she has wormed herself into our lives, how immutable her presence has become, her own heart will always yearn for something else. For home.
Tell me about him.
Huh? About what?
Your dad. Tell me about him. Anything. Just talk. Say anything you want. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll listen.
Silence again, as if she's testing the weight of my question. For what purpose it is. For a reason even I can't say right now. After a while, though, she starts. Reluctantly, her voice hitching, faltering, and stumbling on each syllable as she chooses her words. A rough start, but soon it steadies. And along with it, to keep company, the stories from childhood and memories she's fond of, are the tears. Despite this, in spite of the grief choking her words off, the hurt closing her throat, and the sobs racking her lithe form, she continues. Like the mere act of speaking is a relief in itself. A release. She tells me of her father, the very person who named her, how she looked up to him, how she was a bit of a tomboy growing up in her attempts to imitate him, and how the man encouraged her to pursue what she really wanted. Perhaps even the only thing she ever did for herself, having grown up not wanting anything more than food to put on their table.
He told me I don't have to listen to them. That I can do what I want. Every day, he'd wake up at 4, Ash. Because he'd earn more that way. And every single time, he'd give them to me. Whatever extra he earned, he'd hand them all. So I'd have something to use for my paintings. And you know what? Back home, just a good tube of paint costs almost as much as what we spend for food the whole day. But he'd always set something aside. Told me he wanted to see my paintings in a museum one day.
She pours all of it out. Every little thing she loved and admired about him. Like this, it's easy to see why she has gone to such great lengths for him. Why she abandoned her dreams. Why she went against his wishes, just to grant him another chance at life. Others will say it's her warmth that draws people to her, or her cheer. Neither are wrong, but neither is the whole truth to her either. Because those who have never bothered to look beyond the surface will never see it. See her. See someone earnest. Someone who has always meant well, despite her underlying stubbornness. This is how she loves. Warm. Steadfast. Unflinching. You never meet many people like her. Not in my line of work. Not with the kind of people I've had to deal with. Always with something to hide. Always with something to lie about. Eventually, when you run across too many of them, you change. You become like them. In many ways. For a lot of reasons. She's the kind of person I want to be and be around with. Who made me feel I am still worth something.
He didn't want me to leave. Said, begged, that I should finish my studies first. In the end, I couldn't even grant him that one request. I'm a terrible daughter, aren't I?
You're not.
Huh?
You're not. I can't speak for your dad. I haven't even met the man. But I know you're not.
I'm not entirely sure where I'm going with this. The remark just came out. Now I'm stringing all of these together as I go. But one thing is certain. None of what I'm about to say is a lie.
The Isabella I know is a total klutz, but I've never seen anyone work as hard as she does. She's the type who wears her heart on her sleeve. Though it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's always in the right place. She's intimidated by a lot of stuff, but she knows how to appreciate the smallest things in life. Frankly, you've caused us no small amount of trouble since you barged into our lives. But when I'm with you, all of my worries seem trivial.
Heat has already crept up my face when the turn this whole thing around is about to take registers. Before I blurt the rest out, declare feelings I'm not even ready to reveal to anyone, much less her, my hand comes up to smother the rest of it. Though embarrassment quickly takes the reins before I can completely clamp my mouth shut.
And I'm pretty sure Zach and Becca think the same way. You have a nasty way of growing on people like that, and you know what? We got everything we needed in here. I'll just wipe the security recordings and we're good to go. While I'm at it, you better wipe the snot off your face. And you don't look very nice when you're balding like that.
Hastily, I gather everything. The personnel files, client documents, sales agreements, and contracts. Anything my hands could reach. In record time, all of it has been stacked in a neat pile, ready for storage. I'm heading for the records room, not a few seconds later. Wherever that is. It should be an easy find, unless this place is a maze of some sort, which I highly doubt. Still beats staying here and seeing the look on her face. Crap. Really, her anger is still bearable. I could take that, including the glower she sends my way.
So, yeah, I'll go get the security videos and put these back where you pulled them from. Man, these are heavy, you know?
Ash, it's just paper. You don't even know where I...
Oh, no, I can handle this. Easy as pie. And, yeah, security cams, tapes, videos, cams. Yeah, I'm off.
Her rejection at this point? Maybe. Maybe not yet. Getting the files back to the BRC's archive room is a cinch. With the documents back in their proper places, I lock the door behind me, tugging it twice just to make sure. Now on to the next order of business. Removing the evidence of our little excursion in here, or, at the very least, the parts showing what we've been doing the past hour. Can't have our faces plastered on security footage, showing us breaking the law, as it were. I'm gonna have to wipe the data for Isabella's access card entries, too. Surprisingly, finding their security room proves a breeze. What will be tricky is getting inside. The fact that no one has walked out during the whole time we've been here means the room is either empty or their security's sound asleep. I'm banking more on the former. If they're cutting corners and firing agents, I have no doubt that they've fired the guy stationed here, if they have anyone watching the monitors in the first place. It's a rather common thing for establishments. Just leave security recording indefinitely, and only check the footage if something actually happens. Just to check, I press my ear against the door, listening for a sign of anyone occupying the room. After a long minute and nothing, I give the knob a few rattles.
Standard lock and key. Should be easy enough to pick.
We have lockpick sets, but those are only to be used if necessary, and with a search warrant. Even then, it's a skill set rarely needed. Subtlety isn't on a cop's priority if they have authority to search the premises. Bolt cutters and brute force are the favored methods. If those fail, we call a locksmith. Me, I prefer the good old hairpin trick when those options aren't available. Besides, they're easy to hide and store for emergencies. Running my hand through my hair, I pull a pair of bobby pins. 2 of these, and I can just about open any standard lock. One makes a lever, and the other makes a handle. I won't call it a complex skill, but it certainly takes time and a lot of practice to successfully pick a lock. Good thing I've practiced with them for a bit in my college years. I learned more when they're accessible and standard issue for a law enforcement officer. A wiggle here, a click there, and I managed to seize all the pins in the locking mechanism soon enough. With a slight turn of the knob, the security rooms are ripe for the picking. The room's odor hits me first, a sharp, nauseating stench, as if someone has accidentally spilled a gallon of bleach in the room. When was the last time they opened this place?
Ugh, this place smells awful. Jesus, it's worse than the forensics lab on a bad day.
This is probably because of a badly botched effort to clean the place up. Even in the dark, I can spy dark stains on the wall. I really don't have time to try and play, is this ketchup or soda right now? But I have this strange gut feeling who the mess might belong to. As expected, no security personnel mans the office's CCTV controls, and the standalone DVR setup is open for anyone. Normally, I'd have a heap of things to say about the sloppy security setup, but right now their negligence makes the whole task of erasing evidence easier.
No fuss, no muss.
The next one should be the access card data. Hopefully getting into their computer won't be too much of a hassle. Everything up to now has been smooth sailing. There have been hiccups, I'll give it that, though it does nothing to dampen the good mood I'm in. Once I shift my attention to the machine sitting next to the DVR setup, all of it swiftly evaporates. I'm no computer buff, but I can definitely recognize when one more than a decade old. Simply looking at it makes me feel younger. With a heavy sigh, I power it up and mentally prepare myself for a slow slug. Slow, apparently, remains an understatement here. It takes a whole 3 minutes for the thing to start up. The OS hasn't even started loading, and in my boredom, I start inspecting the live feeds from the cams. Only 2 works. One for the view outside, everything seems to be in order there, and the other for main workspace where it's a fleeting glimpse, a cursory glance, but the sight of it stops me. The image is a bit blurry, but standing there, right in the middle of the room...
I frickin' knew it.
You can see it, start to emerge a little more.
Uh-huh.
By one of the cubicles, I can make out the form of a...
What the hell is...
I don't get too far into that line of thought. No few seconds after my words have slipped out without any sort of warning, while I'm still trying to make sense of what it is. the figure moves. A moment of paralysis hits me when she stops right in front of the camera. Like a dang rookie, I go still in the face of danger. I definitely haven't been trained to handle the supernatural. This one isn't it. And... oh, crap. Her eyes bore into me, the malice in them piercing. Even beyond the screen, it's enough to make me go numb. Only the mug crashing to the floor when my hand accidentally takes a swipe at it snaps me out of my trance, reminding me that I'm not the only one here. Isabella. I see she hasn't noticed anything. Am I the only one seeing this? In any case, whatever's happening, I have to get her out. Gathering my wits, quickly reach for my phone. It takes but all 2 seconds before she answers, but there's no time for relief.
Ashton? Did you really have to call? We're practically on the same floor.
Get out of there.
What? What are you...
Out. Get out. I'll meet you in the elevator. Just
You're creeping me out, Ash.
Just get yourself out of that place, now!
Without second thought, I back away from the controls from the room, ready to be done with this place. But before my foot even moves, she disappears.
Son of a...
Instinct instantly takes over, and my hand quickly reaches for the gun at my side. Only to meet empty air. A mistake that costs me a few precious seconds, while the paperwork I've brought with me threatens to scatter everywhere at the same time. Gathering everything and myself once more, with no weapon to protect myself, my sense of self-preservation kicks in next, and I lunge towards the door. I sprint across the office without daring to look back. Isabella's already waiting in front of the elevators by the time I make it out of their office. Worry creases her eyebrows upon glancing at me, but I don't have time to answer the question in her eyes. As soon as I reach her, I grab her arm, practically throw the two of us into the open elevator, and slam the button for the ground floor. A sigh of relief escapes from me when the elevator starts to descend. The clicking noise fades off into the distance. Beside me, Isabella shifts, moving the stack of papers under her arm while she takes in my appearance. Concerns in her eyes, though all I offer her is a small gesture of my hand, while I attempt to compose myself. Breathe. In, out.
Why are we in such a hurry?
We need to get out of this place. Did you get everything?
Yeah, it's all here. But really, you don't look too good. What's wrong, Ash?
I'll be fine. I was in the security room. From the monitors, there was a fucking...
The rest of what I'm about to say suddenly dies on my tongue when the elevator stops and the door opens too. There's a moment's pause while we both take in our surroundings. Confusion's understandably there.
Oh, come on! They should just replace this whole thing!
No, I'm quite sure I pressed for the ground floor.
Right? But it's just as Isabella said. The elevator always did have problems when I visited in the past. Often she becomes so angry whenever we try to get to her floor, and she'll have to repeatedly smash the button for the elevator to even move. That was always good for a laugh. I wasn't too worried then. Now, from the distance, beyond the light's reach, the noise echoes in my ears along with the rapid pounding in my chest. Isabella stiffens, and her eyes grow wide at the sound. Gingerly, she reaches up to grab the hem of my sleeve and grips it, hard, tight enough for her fingernails to dig through. Her eyes searches wildly for the source of the sound, while I stand protectively in front of her.
Ash, did you hear that?
Anyone there? I can hear you moving from here. Show yourself.
No response. No response, only the soft humming of something, scurrying around the floor and the walls in slow, deliberate movements. Faint, though still audible enough in this hush. Until it stops. I'm gonna make a save. A moment.
We need to go, Ash. We have to.
And then... Frack! This time, I'm certain it isn't my imagination. Against my training, my whole body freezes. Hand still mid-press on the button, eyes growing wide while waiting for any sort of movement from further back, and ears strained for the source of the sound. I can't even offer Isabella any reassurances, much as I hate to admit it. Dread has seeped into every nerve in my body. And the blasted elevator still won't work.
This isn't in my fucking training manual!
Ash, we need to leave. I know that sound. Ash, please, get the elevator!
Another series of shuffling against the ground. A laughter, and all of a sudden, she's just there. Like a twisted spider, she stares at us. A look of hunger in her eyes and venom in the twisted manner she smiles. A glee she has well earned, when we're damn flies that have been dropped right onto the spider's web.
Ashton!
Damn it! Damn it!
Without warning, she moves, mocking me with each unhurried crawl she takes, knowing I'm at her mercy.
Fucking hell!
Ashton, the door! The door!
Our lives are in the hands of a crummy elevator, literally hanging between life and death. We're not going to die here. Not in a dang elevator. What is... Oh, frickin'! Oh, frick! Ah! Okay, so
really bad.
I tried using the number pad. Because I was like, okay, this will be quicker if I use the number pad instead of the numbers up at the top of my letters. That didn't work, and I have numlock on. So I'm gonna have to... Oh, gosh. This is stupid. 8, 9, 7, 4, 1, 5, 4, 6, 9, 8, 1, 8, 9, 2, 3, 7, 5, 2, 8, 1. What? 1, 5, 9. Thrack! It'd be easier if I could use the freaking the number keys. Yeah, I can't use them. Here, I'm just gonna purposely die because... Oh. What, it's being gracious enough? What? Let's try that again. 8, 9, 2, 4, 1. 9, 5, 7, 4, 8. 1, 3, 5, 4, 2. 5, 6, 1, 4, 2. Oh! As if a divine power has heard me swearing up a storm in my head, the doors close just as that thing looms near. Soon the elevator, blasted thing, is headed up. Isabella's knees buckle in relief. In 2 ticks, she's hugging herself without any care for the mess of papers and folders she has dropped on the floor in her panic. She draws one ragged breath after another, each one brimming with nothing but relief. This is the most I've been tired my whole dang life. Not during my training, when my superior first asked me to drop 100. Not after a stakeout. but after smashing a freaking elevator button repeatedly. I slump to the ground beside her, worn out, but I don't let myself feel relief again. Not until we're out of here. Isabella seems to be of the same mind as she looks at me. Still, I find myself sharing a shaky laugh with her.
We're okay. We're fine. Right?
Yeah, we're good. Alive. Fuck, we should have taken the goddamn stairs.
Twice I've seen it. Thrice, if I include the party. Unless I'm tripping balls without realizing it, there's no doubt in my mind that this is actually happening. I don't want to believe it. But with the truth staring at me in the face, it'll be stupidly to deny the reality of the matter. Or it'll be stupidity to deny the reality of the matter. As soon as the lift hits the ground floor, we hightail it out of the building. Seb's sound asleep when we pass by a station. However, in the face of what we've seen, everything I've faced tonight, we really can't care less who will still see us on our way out. The sooner we get away from this place, the farther the better. I'm just not sure if that also means being safe. She almost got us. The freaking thing almost had us. Crap. It was only by luck that we managed to get the freaking elevator unstuck. Had the blasted thing not worked in the last second... I need some air. Fresh, breathable air that doesn't stink like death and gore all at once. I'm panicking.
You said that, I farted.
Oh my gosh! Really? I need fresh, breathable air! Stop farting! My gosh. I'm panicking. Losing focus. With another person here, I can't afford that right now. Isabella hasn't said anything, but I know she's more shaken than I am. I can't lose it when another person's depending on me.
Remember your training, Frey.
Another deep breath, and soon I'm starting the engines and driving us off. After that little incident, somewhere open would be good. Someplace I won't get trapped. Alright, we'll stop here for the night.
Yeah.
Let's check the
We're gonna get
page.
into a little sex scene soon, I bet.
Yeah, right. 3% done, boys.
Oh my gosh.
Ashton's
freaking.
Ashton's too important to die. Yeah, that's the death, but that's not like a permanent death. Obviously. So we are on the bottom path. Oh, gosh. Look at that. Barely an inch. 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours.
It's gonna take forever.
It's gonna take forever.